yesterday with my boss, I was like, are you in headspace to like answer a really annoying question? Like, is this a good time for the, the stupid one that you're not gonna like because it's annoying? So I have a personal assistant. And she's like, yeah. So I laid out this big dumb question for her, and she like agonized over it for a few minutes, and then was like, switch to talking about the cat, and switch to talking about, and I had to be like, hey man, this is so fun. You really have to tell me yes or no about that. Yeah. And that it's just another good example.
Perfect. Yeah.
Guys,
lead into what we're talking about.
We've had 200 good examples, even as we've talked about talking about what we're about to talk about. And mainly,
can I tell them why my face is puffy, just to start us off?
Yeah, but can you not say what day it is so that they don't know that we're doing it on the exact same day? You just be like, this just happened, but be a little bit vague.
Yes. Can I just say it's day 1?
Yeah.
This is day 1.
But not in every podcast that we record. So they don't know it's a 4 are in the same exact
Oh, got it.
Today
once
say
they
it's
know that they'll know that it's the exact time that I got it done, because my face will look like this only temporarily for a really short time.
Yeah, we're gonna leave this all in.
Okay, guys, don't tell anyone, but we're recording these on the same day, and this is also the same day that my face is recovered from being injected with different things yesterday, which is why I look like I think I look like I'm going on an episode of like Real Housewives of the OC. I still have a good brain that thinks very clearly and is going to say some good things. So if you're distracted by my lips, look at hers. They're lovely. Yeah. So don't tell anyone that I got anything done with my face, because I'm like super insecure about people knowing. And don't tell anybody that we're recording on the same day, because we don't want you to know that.
Also, feel free to continue to think that women who have puffy faces like don't have good brains.
Yeah, it actually takes a lot of courage to get a lot of puffy faces. If you see people, that's what we were just talking about with her husband, Connor's. There's a lot of needles involved with those faces.
This is not easy. Like, people are choosing a thing that is quite challenging, honestly, or requires a lot of courage. Like, it makes the idea of these needles and these things, like I feel it feels the same to me as like the dentist, which like if you guys don't know how scared I am of the dentist, it's a lot. Okay. Yeah. I should have gotten my wisdom teeth out like 14 years ago. Haven't.
That's why you're so wise. Oh, their teeth are there. No, while these needles were happening to my face that I volunteered for, I opted in. I did also think, what a dumb system that this is what I'm signing. Is it recording?
No, it totally is.
Just like that, I'm signing up like, I want youthfulness. So I'm going to put myself through a lot of real agony. Meanwhile, like, Sean's not going to do that. He doesn't care. I'm like, this is such a weird mosquito. No, I'm a real mosquito killer.
Yeah. Listen, everybody, welcome back to a podcast full of things like needles and mosquitoes. There's scary mosquitoes in LA, which frankly, if we could just get the mosquitoes to unionize and be stinging all these women in the very specific area that they want, we could put the mosquitoes to good use, and everyone could be puffy instead of just biting me all over my body at random.
I did think that my face right now feels a little bit like it was stung by a bee or something. And I'm like, could we tap into the bugs that do make you swell up?
Because Botox is a similar kind of like freezing poison.
Yeah.
It's like the part that comes out of like, we don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this part.
Anyway, we are here to talk about
decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And welcome back to Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club. I'm Layne Dealing-Trillant.
And I'm Jessica Hover. It's kind of funny that it took us this long, because I'm pretty sure we've struggled with this our entire, all of the podcast and before.
Yeah, decisions are, I think decisions are easy. And yet others think that decisions are hard, and the interplay between these things makes decisions very hard.
Okay, tell me more about that. What do you mean? Because I know you guys are going to get it really fast.
Yeah. So I'm a person who like makes pretty snappy decisions. I'm like, it's pretty easy for me to be like, I want this thing, I don't want that thing, like yes to that, no to that. My no's are very loud.
Yeah.
And also like kind of almost nothing matters. So decisions are just like nothing matters. So it's just like, do you want to eat this or do you want to eat this? Like, I want to eat that. Easy.
Yeah.
Right? should we go here? Should we go there? Nope. Don't like the vibe there. Do you like the vibe there? Should we hang out with this person or that person? Like, it's just, like nothing matters. So almost nothing matters. Like big things are a different thing, but there's all these
they're like smaller
thousands.
day-to-day decisions. You're not going to fail. The answer's not going to be wrong.
No, you're going to eat food. You're going to see people. You're going to go somewhere wearing something. Wearing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I moved through those pretty quickly. But what that means is that I like correlate to people who don't want to make decisions.
Yeah.
And they're like, ooh, she'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, come along, everybody. This is easy. I'll just make it easy for you.
Yeah.
And then I do that for such a long time that all of a sudden one day I'm like full of rage and panic.
Yes.
And I'm like, why is everyone asking me what to do?
Yeah.
Like my husband asked me the other day, he bought 2 kinds of oatmeal for himself to eat for breakfast. And first he asked me what steel cut oats were. So I told him. Then he asked me what the other kinds of oats were. And so I told him. And that to me clearly showed the difference between the two things. And then he asked me which one I think would taste better to him. And then I burned the house to the ground.
And that was the end of the marriage.
That was the end of the marriage. So I'm divorced and my house is on fire. But it also was kind of my fault because I've spent like 7 years being like, I think you would like steel cut oats more than you would like quick cooking oats.
Yeah.
And so we were just talking about, I was starting to drown myself because of all the decisions that people are asking me to make for them. And then I circled around to because I wanted them to have to look down at me through the water while I drown under the weight of their decisions.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm the one who's filled the bathtub, right? Picked these people. I've been doing it for them this whole time.
Yeah.
I got a lot of friends who are like this.
Yeah.
I used to work with children. I no longer do. Obviously, this is about to dip into the like, and I don't even have kids to make choices for.
Right.
Like it's this much of a like tingly, sparkly feeling,
Which
and
is,
there's not even children.
It's very validating actually to those of us who have children and are feeling that too. Is like, oh, cool. This is actually hard even without kids. And then you add the fact that you have kids who you really do need to be making decisions for.
Yeah.
And when you're having kids that you're making decisions for, you pretty much guarantee that they're going to push back on the decision you make, even if you literally do the thing that they were like, I want this. And then you decide, oh, okay, according to, life, that will work.
You said.
I will give this to you. And then they cry, I don't want that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to explode.
What are you supposed to do? Especially when it's a thing that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 kinds of food. They like them both.
Yes.
There's 2 kinds of shoes. It's all Crocs. Some of them are purple and some of them are pink. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And yet now you're carrying the weight of this other person's internal preference.
Totally.
Like I'm making choices about your preference.
Yeah.
It's so much.
Yes. And it happens a lot too in marriage specifically. I see it where it's almost like they think they're doing us a favor of like, well, what do you want for dinner? I'll make it, but what do you want? And especially to like the moms in my group who show up to my shop who are most of the time with one little baby. Often they also have a toddler or other kids at home. They're spending the whole day making decisions. And even though very sweet that husband is going to make dinner, even sweeter would be, don't make me decide anything.
Yeah.
Like I can barely remember to eat. I don't even know. Like hunger, I'm not even in touch with that at this stage. I'm just trying to stay alive with this tired little one. And and then you're like, okay, so now what do I mean, they're doing a reasonable thing asking me what I want.
Right.
And I'm like,
But they're also going to ask you where everything is to make that before they look. Like before they look.
Yeah, that's right.
The most often thing that I say in this house is like, yeah, did you look with your eyes?
Oh.
Oh, sure. It's great. You looked. Do you want to look again before I ask you that? Like it's such a huge joke.
Yeah.
Because it's so earnest. He's like, yeah, I took my eyes into the cupboard. I looked around and I just didn't see the thing. Like it was, but I did look. And being like,
but it
that's
wasn't
so curious
right in front
that you can
with,
look
like, an arrow.
and not see.
Yeah.
Like a sparkly with the little, like the marquee lights where they just travel around the shape of the arrow being like ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, exactly. Which is also interesting because your house is like very clean and orderly. I could understand Connor not finding something in my house at this very day. If he arrived, I'd be like, sorry, buddy, I don't know. No, but at your house, it's
just
lovely.
2 grown-ups live here. It's like pretty straightforward. Like nobody's pulling things out of the cupboard. Nobody's hiding your keys. That's my ultimate terror in life with small children anywhere is I'm like, oh, I can't find my keys? And am I never going to find my keys because somebody thought that they looked like treasure? So they're like in a treasure chest buried under the ground. And that child has now left with their parent, and I'm never going to find my keys again.
That did happen with my friend and her own wedding ring. Her daughter found it and thought it was a treasure and hid it in her own little treasure box. And they spent so long trying to find it, like days and days and days and days. And then finally we're like, we need to really ask this toddler, like, are you hiding a treasure anywhere? And it basically was like they had to find the right language to be like, treasure, like think sparkling like treasure. Jewels. And she was like, oh, yeah, I know where that is. It's in the treasure box.
Right. Gosh, which is just such a good example for them. We're tangent land here now. But like, they don't know that it's your wedding ring. Your wedding isn't like a thing. Why? It doesn't matter. They don't know that it's your most, she doesn't know anything except that like
this was shining.
She watched that show where there's treasure. What is all that? Oh, Jake and Pirates. I don't know if kids still watch that. That was a few years ago. But it was like, it was kind of like a little video game. They're like all these kids. Oh, Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was picturing as Neverland. I know there's a lot of Neverland shows with pirates and fairies and treasure.
Yeah. And you like jump up and grab these little coins. Everything's like sparkly and that makes like a little video game sound. That's like all she knows. She's like, oh, jewels for my pirate chest. It's so logical. It makes like, so much sense. I'm the smartest
child you've ever had.
Yeah. Well, she just is out there living her life through her own little eyes, which can only see exactly what she's looking at.
Yeah.
The tiniest little holes and the tiniest little face looking straight forward, being like, I know what to do with that.
Yes.
I'm a pirate.
Totally. How cute.
Genius.
Yep.
Circling back to my husband can't find things.
Oh, yeah.
And decision breakfast choices and just being out with, just being out with friends. And then being like, yeah, after we get this pizza, it would be fun to go get a beer. And then the pizza's done. And I'm like, so should we get a beer? And they're like, I don't know. What do you guys want? And being like, no. I said what you want the beer. I'm just cueing you to be like, now let's have the thing I want. Beer. Or, you know what? I don't really want that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yes to beer or no to beer. I don't care.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you ever been with people who how do I describe this? Okay. I'm going to say it like this about myself, and then I want to know if you've ever experienced this.
Yeah.
I have people in my life who I love to be around, and they are more picky than me with food and beverage. And so if I pick a place and we go and they don't really like it, it's visible. It's like they're not having as much fun. So then I sometimes end up being like, where do you guys want to go? We can go wherever you want to go. And it's actually not that I don't have an opinion. It's just that I will have more fun if you guys are at the place that you like than if we go to the place I am.
Yeah.
Does that really, have you ever had that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I have that a lot, I feel like. So then I'm just, I end up being like, what do you guys want? But it's not because I don't know how to decide. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like we're stacking, like if we had a little shelf here, we're stacking some like really good options where I'm over here being like, I literally don't care where we go.
Yeah.
So if nobody wants to make a choice, no problem. I'll just pick something. I just don't want to be standing on this street any longer. Like that's literally it. So like,
take me anywhere.
If you want something, you should say it because I'm going to make that happen for you. But if you don't want to say something, I will just, I'm going to fill this void for us because nobody wants to be standing here.
Yes.
Right. So I'm over here being like, I'm going to alleviate your suffering.
Yeah.
Because you guys don't like the decisions. But if somebody has a preference, amazing. Let's do that. I will drive you to wherever you want to go. And then there's the person who's like, oh, I don't know. I'm just going to like, and maybe what I need is help from that person.
We all
to
need
be like, tell me from the inside, the experience of having previously stated like, I would like to drink beer after this pizza. And then we get to after the pizza.
We become like therapists. We're like, what are your feelings saying?
I need to know what it feels like from the inside over there. Because I'm like, what do you mean? This was your thing.
You said you wanted a beer.
But then there's also the person who's making decisions in the sense of like, they do have super strong preferences.
Yes.
Or maybe even there are people who have the strong preferences, but then they don't want to make the decision. They just are willing to go be miserable and have the thing they didn't want.
Right.
Because they didn't want to be the one to enforce their thing. But
interesting.
That could be tricky.
So many dynamics.
Yeah.
Human beings.
So how do you, Jessica, actually feel about decisions? Like how do those hit for you? Do they feel easy? Do they feel hard? What does it feel like inside when you have to make a choice?
Lately I feel pretty spread thin mentally. Like there's not a lot of extra bandwidth for certain things. So I welcome, like I'm thinking practically, like at home, what do you want for dinner? There's plenty of times where I'll say to Sean, as long as we can make sure the kids are fed, I'm happy to figure something out, just like based on whatever random ingredients we have in the fridge that like, because Sean's the dinner maker at our house right now, versus like, oh, I really want this thing. Could you make this thing? I rarely have that. And so I think I'm happy, like if he has the brain to make the decision, I'm like, go for it. But I also recognize, at least in our household, we're both kind of running on fumes on certain days. Totally. So sometimes I'll be like, do you have it in you to make the decision for what you want for dinner? And I mean, we've known each other a while and we like know our thing. And so sometimes it's easy, like, oh yeah, I can make it. I was already thinking this. And sometimes it's like, I have no clue. And so then we kind of, it's like tapping out. Like,
what
okay,
is food?
Today I can't make the decision. You can. Okay, now we're in the reverse.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes I feel like I don't know how to make decisions. Here's something like personality wise, I'm very feely. Like if we're in a room and I feel and I'm perceiving your expression to be like sad or stressed and I'm perceiving her over there, like something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And then maybe we have like a bunch more people. What's happening inside is I'm sort of like reading the group to try and do something that will be best for the group. And that can be really hard. And I've read books about personalities like this because I know that there's more of us.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing for me, oh, okay, Layne, I'm going to give you a really good example.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
When we have nannies living with us. So these are people that are basically working for my family, but they also are our friends and they're usually living like the way we've done it in the past is they're not paying rent, they're trading hours, taking care of the kids. So there's this work dynamic, but I also want to honor them as like people I don't know very well who are serving our family and we're also friends. If I need to make a big decision that's like, hey, Jessica, what should the schedule be for them this week and how should we do this? It's really hard in the moment for me to do it while looking at them.
Okay.
I will be like, okay, awesome. Do you have any needs that I should know about this week? Any like appointments, any time that you really don't want to be with them or something that's not working? Okay, cool. I'm going to go and I'm going to write it down and I'm going to come back and basically present it with you.
Okay.
Because otherwise what will happen is if I'm sitting face to face with this person and they're experiencing, I don't know, relationship stress with the guy they're dating or something weird happening with their parents back at home, I'm like internalizing all of it. And what it makes me want to do is be like, well, never mind. Like, okay, yes, I have these certain things that I probably should, like the right thing to do as a responsible parent or responsible business owner is like present you with the hours I need you to work. But it becomes so feely in me that it becomes like just a big soupy like blur. And so then if I can leave and be like, nope, okay, all feelings aside, like logically what's going on here?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes even in a moment, it'll be, if it's like high stress on the thing we're talking about, this would be more like having to do with work or kind of a stressful decision to make with the kids or something. Sometimes in the moment, I'll need to like separate myself like, okay, yep, I totally hear you. And this all makes sense. Let me now go back and like look at my life and see how I can make this decision. Because otherwise in it, I feel like my decision-making ability is just a big blur.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the social dynamic of it, like sort of washes out the other thing. Like that comes so prominently over the top of.
And if I'm really tired or I felt particularly stressed in a week or something, then I can't make even easy decisions. It'll be like, okay, I finally have a moment to leave the house. I have an hour. I can go do something without anyone, by myself. What do I do? And I'll start to feel myself weirdly like panicking. Like, I don't know where to go should I go get a coffee? What if this takes a long time? What if I don't know. You become like things are heightened that don't need to be heightened. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I'm actually fine and I'm capable and I've made plenty of hard decisions in my life. How could I not make this very easy one?
Right. But that brings in another dynamic, which is scarcity. Like anytime it seems like,
very limited time or something.
Limited time or like, I've decided I'm going to spend a lot like more money than I normally would going out to eat So like now I'm looking at this menu being like, this is your chance. And then
and I want this to be great.
There's just like that extra squeeze on like, I only have a little bit of this or I won't have this again. I definitely feel some anxiety around that. That does make choosing quite a lot harder.
All of this feels like it's about to be a conversation sort of about boundaries. I don't know, boundaries in the way that you've described before of like putting words and edges on what's going on inside of you, because it's also kind of a boundary to be able to be with our friends and be like, guys, this doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
When it feels like I'm the only one who can make the decision on behalf of our team.
Yeah.
Like that becomes a boundary of like, I'm happy to make decisions sometimes, but when it feels like you're not doing it, and then the person who would maybe be in my shoes, not in that thing you're describing, but like in the dynamic of when I'm with people who actually don't seem like they're having a nice time if they didn't go to the place that they chose themselves, then maybe my boundary would be like, I will make a decision, guys, but then I'm going to ask that you have a great time and like that you really, you like make an effort to really enjoy our time. Otherwise, my edge is I need you to decide the place because I'm committed to having a great time with us.
Yeah.
You know, like no matter where we end up.
Yeah.
Something like that feels like an edge, or like, okay, husband, I'm so tired. I've been changing diapers, or I've been doing this, or I've been stressed at work. Thanks for wanting to know what I want for dinner. Don't ask me again this week. I'm done.
You could
I'm
please
toast.
make all the choices about that this week.
That would be really
to pick
helpful.
5 meals for dinner for the next 5 nights.
Yeah, and you can choose whatever you want, and I will eat it with joy and be so grateful not to have made that decision.
Yeah,
like a boundary on that, and because how sweet that they want to make the food. But also the boundary is like they might not understand that you just spent the whole day making thousands of decisions. And even when your baby was sleeping, you were thinking through, now I have this nap time. What do I do of all these things that I have to do? What do I do and how do I do it? And anticipating the next need.
I love that, because what you're saying about boundaries, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm describing is I have been ignoring, like I've like lowered my fences and let people like play all over around the boundary of like what I have the capacity to say yes and no about, instead of being like, oh, I don't think I should make that choice for you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my whole system is like, alert, alert, alert. Like we're being invaded. We feel invaded now by everybody's everything. But that's because I've been letting them this whole time. So it is this like the part where I said I wanted to drown myself earlier.
That's a flag.
Yeah. That's my like legit animal instinct being like, hey, everybody's in my territory.
Yeah.
And what I really need to do is be like, hey, this isn't working for me, you guys. Could you please this. Like, actually, I would like to not be the one who puts in the Chinese food order today. Or could everybody write down the 3 things that they want from this menu? And then I will order, this number of things out of the list that everybody made. Just like directly saying what I need in a way that's like, actually I need everybody to back up.
Yeah.
And then we can all go back to like napping on the savannah
Totally.
because everybody's correctly out of my territory.
Yes.
Whereas if I keep letting this happen, I'm going to be like, we need to brawl. I need to fight you.
I'm done being friends with all of you. I will be alone. Yeah.
And that is what happens. Like if you let too much resentment build, either you have to fight people or you have to cut them off. Like you have to get that out.
Right.
Because you can't just like let your system get so overrun by that.
And I think people treat us the way we teach them they can treat us, right? But they also think we want that. So it's almost a surprise if we live a certain way for a long time and then we're mad at the person next to us. They're like, wait, what? Oh, I thought you liked this. Like I thought I was doing exactly what you like.
Yeah.
And you are good at making decisions. And I'm thinking like sometimes our strength becomes our weakness when our boundaries aren't there. But also I think it's like a capacity thing week by week. Even for me hormonally, I've told Jody, who I work with, who owns Mother, I've said like, just so you know, the week before I get my period, I feel pretty awful. Like I feel pretty depressed. I feel like not at capacity. So business wise, if we need to have any big decisions, probably that week would be the least optimal time. Like I'll do it. If we have to, I'll do it. but it's not going to be the easiest. Whereas like the week after, I tend to feel more clear-headed. So if we get to pick, let's pick that, right? And so I think sometimes too, it's a what are we capable of, or what capacity are we at? Are you super overwhelmed with your other job? Or for me, on the weeks that I feel very stressed about money, or I've been working a lot, but the money's not coming, there is this sense of stress that it actually affects every part of my life. And so then my ability to make a decision, or my ability to interact with people who I normally would be really good at, everything feels strained. And so even that, boundaries is one way of saying it, but it's also like putting words to what's going on inside, and being able to say to our people, like, this week I'm really not able to handle everybody's decisions. I like making decisions on behalf of our team. Sometimes it's fun and it's like I'm good at it. But then sometimes I really don't. And it's allowed to be like an ebb and a flow versus like in our life, it always needs to be this or that.
Gosh, that's so smart. I think that's so smart, because like it should be so powerful to be able to say like, now's not a good time. Like, Jody, this is that week. Is this a decision that can wait for a few more days? Like, now's not a great time for me to be like this. Whereas I'm over here being like, I'm always the one who has to fucking whatever. And I never this. And like really always and never are some things that we should all, like, those should always be red flags in your thinking of like, anytime
they're
you
helpful.
always, I always, and I never, and you that's always like, oh, ooh, there it is. That's always a red flag. You know, but just like trying to notice like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing where I'm like, oh no, all the pieces in my life are firm, unmovable mountains. When really they're just like people who love me that I could be like, hey, I really don't care. Can you just tell me right now? It's just like flip a coin. I care so little that you could flip a coin about this, and then we could just decide where to go. Let's do that. You know,
even to say like, hey, it's not fun for me anymore, when it becomes like we go out and I have to make a lot of decisions. So it's not that I don't like you as a person. I don't think you're flawed in some major way. I'm just not having fun with this dynamic. I mean, I say it with my kids. It's not fun for me, guys. If we're out and you all of a sudden are super whiny and crying at me and not very nice, that's not fun, and we want to have fun. And just like, oh, okay, well, that's not fun. Okay, well, let's switch to something more fun. I don't know.
Gosh, I love that. I love that. I have another story from Connor today, which I think is important to say, because I just really blasted him about the oatmeal, because the oatmeal was just like such a sometimes the smallest thing is the perfect metaphor for your entire life. And to me, the oatmeal was like,
it's perfect.
This is what I'm drowning under. It's literally a bathtub of oatmeal, although very good for your skin to put oatmeal in your bath.
For your skin. And this podcast is sponsored by oatmeal.
Oatmeal in the bath.
As just a product that exists in the world.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't use Steel Cut, frankly, for that. I think that's probably a quick
Thank you for making that
situation, because you want that creepy film, thick, you know? Today, my husband Connor is releasing an album. By the time you've heard this, the album will be out, and you should go listen to it. Connor Churland, the artist name. The album's called Lake. It's like really good.
No wonder you're thinking about drowning.
There's been a lot of water imagery. I've been helping Connor art direct some of the stuff for this album, and
makes sense.
It has been a lot of water imagery. The merch is in. He had to go get some hats embroidered, right? He like picked some cool hats. They got here on time. Came from Australia. We were worried about the lead time, but they arrived no problem. So now they're like getting embroidered down the street as we speak. So fun.
That's amazing.
And he had to send the guy files, like asset files for the art, and also decide where to put the guy sent proofs of like, do you want the lettering to be here or here? Should it be this thread or that thread? And those are the kinds of things that like sound really simple, but when you're sitting there, you're like, I don't know what file format this person wants. You're like in business trying to order a big product, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's busy. They seem like they can do a really good job, but they were kind of like gruff with me on the phone a little bit, but I think they're nice, but I can't tell it. I want them to like do this quickly. I want them to do a good job, so I want them to like me. Like there's just all this thing of like, and do I send it in like, should it be .png? Should it be like what file format do I send this in? And you could like die under the weight of that decision. Or you could be like, I'm going to send this person 6 assets and they can pick what they want, which is what Connor did.
That's good.
And also, well, should the letters go up a little bit or down? And the impulse would be to be the person like the person who's making it, you would want to be like, well, what do you think? Where do people normally put it on their hats? What do you, and like offload that right back onto them. But that's just a person in an embroidery shop being like, I don't care where the letters go on your hat. So finding the thing inside to be like, nope, I'm the artist. It's my merch. This is where it's going to go. And you just pick it and then you write the email. And he was like, and I was writing the email and I was like, I'm not even going to ask Layne if this is the way the email should go. Like sent the assets, pick the place, don't double check because you don't need to.
Connor is amazing.
Connor is amazing. And and so cute. You guys can't see him over there, but he's so cute. Right, but you could like, we've all been in those situations where it's like, I need to double check the lettering on this text to this person. Like when it doesn't matter. Sometimes it matters and you should totally ask the people in your life
Sometimes
for
it
help
feels
and
like
advice.
it matters. And then you're like, oh no, it doesn't matter. It just feels like it matters a lot.
If I send the wrong asset, the guy will be like, hey, we can't use that file format. And then your project will be delayed by 20 minutes, right? Like he's just going to ask you for the different one. And maybe he is going to think you're dumb. And then that guy thought you were dumb for sending that file format and then you switched it and then your hat still got made, right? Like, but there's this thing inside that's like, I'm allowed to be the one who knows.
That
like
reminds
I'm
me of
allowed to be
something.
the one who chooses. I'm allowed to make a mistake. I can just move forward and adjust. Where like the other version is just like so frozen. And there have been times when I've been so frozen. I just felt like that was such a beautiful example. Like Connor came out and told me that. I knew, oh my gosh, we're about to talk about decisions. And I feel like that's a perfect small metaphor for being like, no, I just get to be the one who says. Because it's not important. And of course, there are times when things are really important and you really have to negotiate with your person or with your business partner or like you feel that you're at a crossroads and you should get a lot of input from people. But these middle ones, like you get to just make those. Like it's okay that you're the one who knows and gets to decide a lot of the time.
Then you carry some of the power inside of you versus being open and letting everyone else be the power people. And we're just like at the mercy of all their power. But you reminded me when you said the thing of like, they might think you're dumb. So much of our fear, I think, is around like, well, what's the other person going to think of me? And this morning, Eloise was going to school and we have been doing that thing where we draw hearts on ourselves. And this morning we forgot. And it's like that thing where if you miss each other, you have a heart on you and you like can hold it. Or Wilson likes to pray when he holds it. It's just very cute.
That's sweet.
Well, Eloise had forgotten the heart thing. And so I was like, all I have in my purse is this lip gloss. It was like lipstick. I was like, you could write a heart on your arm with lipstick, but it's going to be kind of big and gooey. And she was like, okay, I'll do it. And then she like started to do it. And she was like a little teary eyed. Like, I miss you already. And like, what if people are going to laugh at me for having this heart? And I was like, Eloise, if people are laughing at you for having a heart, they don't really have a very good sense of humor. And like, they maybe need to learn a few more jokes. And if they're laughing, like, why do you have a big gooey heart on your arm? And you could tell them like, it's perfect because my mom's lips are really big and gooey today. And so we're just all making fun of it, But I'm like, basically what ended up happening was we were laughing and she was like, yeah, they could tell a better joke. And then she's like telling jokes. She's like, if someone was going to laugh at me, they should learn this joke. And then she starts telling a joke. But it was cool to see like the same fear I carry walking around. I mean, today of all days of being like, what if someone thinks this about me? Like, well, then they have too much time on their hands. They need to go get a hobby. They need to go learn a sport or like take care of something more important because if they're giving their time to making fun of somebody else, they have too much time and it's not a good use of it. And it's just good to like make that smaller and then just be, everybody is trying to make decisions and we all are going to make ones that aren't great. And then we come back from it and be like, oh yeah, that one wasn't good. That didn't go well. Okay. I won't do that one again. Cool. Now I know. And then I'll do the other one. But just kind of making that fear smaller and then making the internal power to make the decision a little bigger. And then also making the power to hand off decisions to people. Your friend Pam. So Pam, is that,
yes, Pam Bennett.
She did a great thing. I asked her if she was available in October and she's not.
She's a social media manager.
Yeah. And she's so great.
She's so great.
And she said no. And I appreciated it. I like, as I was sending the message, I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I hope she's not going to take this on if she can't. It's funny, like how we personalize, internalize, like, oh no, I'm going to ask them, even though like
before I ask, I need to know. Somehow I'm responsible to know like how it's going to be on their end. And if it's no for them, oh God, I should never have put that on their plate as though the other person can't just be like,
No, as
Nope.
if it's like a game of
Not at
tennis
all.
and like I send the ball to you and then you send it
the
back
ball
to
right
me
back, yes.
and we just play and it is fun.
Two grown-ups.
Yes,
Fun
thank
conversations.
you.
Yes.
Yes.
But I
So-
feel like, oh God, oh no.
Yes. So last minute, because I'm realizing like I needed some extra help for these months and she's great. And I knew you like her a lot. So I like sent her this message and then she responded so kindly of being like, I actually am so sorry. I don't have the bandwidth. I wish I did. Here's someone else. And I thanked her. I'm like, yes, be an example to me. Do that because I want to do that more. And I need to see that done. And we need to like welcome that people get to say no to the things. And also when we ask someone for something and they say no, let them say no. Like versus sometimes you see this play out. I see this play out so much and it's, I don't know if it's a pet peeve or what, but it's that thing of like, I'm going to ask them to do this and then they're going to say no. And then I'm going to be so mad. I can't believe they said no when you're like, well then that wasn't even a fair ask because the reason you ask is to give them the option of a yes or no. Are you able to do this? Do you want to do this? Can you? Whatever.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was so respectable. She's a small business owner who says no sometimes and she's great. She's like, and I love you and Layne so much. And like, I would want to. I'm like, I know. I knew you would want to. That's why I was afraid to ask you because it's last minute.
I mean, shout out So Pam Socials.
Totally. And then what was awesome is that someone else in the very same moment posted like, hey, I have this person. She's really good for this thing. And it was the same thing I was asking Pam about.
Amazing.
And she's got a spot open for October. And I was like, thank you. Yeah. So now I have someone and Pam said no. And it was beautiful. And I'm thankful.
It's a perfect exchange.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I love
it's so
it.
good for me.
I actually love it when people tell me no because I'm like, oh, thank God. Like I just feel so relieved of like, oh, I know what to do. It's great. Then I won't. Perfect. And I will go find something else. As opposed to just this like blank slate of, is it a blank slate of possibilities or is it just like a table so full of possibilities that you go blank? I can't even pick the correct metaphor for that feeling.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. Yes.
It does.
But like also when someone says no, it means that you can trust their yes. Like when they say yes to you, it means that they actually can do that. A person who always says yes to you is actually like not that trustworthy because you never know whether or not their plate is too full.
That's really good.
And they're going to drop the ball or they're going to be really sorry about how much they're not actually able to do the thing that they wish that they could do, right? Like the person who's like, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do. Then you know like, oh, this person actually knows what they can and can't do. And so this is kind of like a safe engagement for me. So if that's you, you're the person who feels like you're always having to say yes and feeling overloaded and feeling like everybody's decisions are your responsibility. Like it's actually a gift to them if you start saying no and making it clear, because then it does make your yes more real.
It does.
And you're not going to be in this resentment space where you have to either like light your house on fire or cut them off.
Exactly.
Like you're not going to have to be working with the insurance company being like, no, it's not fraud. I was really mad.
Yeah.
It's not arson. I just exploded.
Just playing this out so far.
If I spontaneously combust, is it insurance fraud?
Right.
A fire started was not in my control.
Yeah. It was about oatmeal.
Yeah.
No,
Listen,
that
Mr. Insurance Man, has your husband ever
sense.
asked you which oatmeal would taste better to him?
Yeah. No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's so right. I feel like I was just going to say something and now I'm just thinking about oatmeal.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Maybe let me say this one thing too.
Say
but
it.
like,
Go for it.
Maybe also in the space of like, of course you have to make a billion decisions for your kids. I do think there are a lot of those decisions you can get back to them. Like I think a lot of times moms are reflexively opening string cheeses that could totally be opened and like picking things. You just like any question that comes at you, you just answer it. And there could be a lot of you being like, great question, buddy. Whatever you want. Great question, buddy. Go ask your sister. Actually, I think you can open that. You know, I think there probably is if you were able to like, if you could find it within yourself to like hear how often you're just reflexively giving more than you need to. That's probably a way that you could rein some of that in.
Yeah.
But also there's a billion decisions that you do have to make on behalf of your children all the time. So maybe if we could just rein in the other adults in our life.
Sure.
So that you're not also like way over a boundary.
But that's really key to realize that we sometimes I think are doing that where we're answering our kids every single inquiry, every like all of it. I think because we're trying to stop like the worst thing, which is like the protest if we don't do exactly what they want in the moment. But yeah, I've been so I've been so blessed by, actually, specifically my friend Becca when she comes to stay. You know Becca. Some of you guys don't know Becca, but she comes and stays with me, and she's a nanny for many years, has been one. And she'll sometimes say to me, like, you know, they can figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't hear it. You have to be careful saying that stuff sometimes. Like, I don't encourage you to just go say that to any mom, because it can be a very sensitive topic to talk to a mom about their parenting if they didn't ask. But in our relationship, I really trust her judgment, and she loves my kids a lot. And there is this sense that basically for her, she's like, you can be a little tougher. Like, you're not mean. And in fact, they act different around Sean and Becca than they do me, because I tend to be the like puddle who's like, yeah, okay, this, that, what, and the other, which also I end up being the one who will yell at them or like kind of almost get to the point of impatient rage, probably because I didn't manage that whole in between of like, no, sometimes you do these things for yourself. Like, or a question I ask my little ones a lot is, well, why do you think? Because so many questions are, why this, why that, mama, why? And it doesn't really feel like they're trying to get an education about the thing.
Sometimes it's just sound.
Yes.
There's just sound coming out. And
exactly.
They can't stop the sound, and you're letting the sound happen, and everyone's like, I don't know why this noise keeps going. They're looking at you like, please stop me. Somebody stop me.
Exactly. Yeah. So to ask like, why do you think, or encourage them to go do this thing on their own, or you've been really great to encourage our community. I'm thinking of a time Cleora asked a question about like her daughter always wanting to be held standing up or something, and just basically you giving us permission to be like, my body can't handle that today. I love you so much. I can't. I'm not going to be able to do that. Yeah, exactly.
Happy to hold you, love you in this way.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really good, because when you're inside of this role and you're feeling so spread thin and you have the decision fatigue and you don't know what to do, it feels hard to know what are you allowed to say to like give yourself some space. Yeah. So yeah, that's all very helpful.
Yeah, and I think this might be as true with some of the adults in my life as the children, but I'm thinking about it in terms of the children. They're you, the mom, have like been with this person since they were a baby, and they did 100% need you for every single thing ever. Yeah. And that's been a continuous, like it's been a continuum, or like a continuous slope upward. You know, like there was no spot where you were like, okay, now we're going to unlock this door and open it. And look, your capacity is behind here. Right. You're capable now. Right. They've just been slowly developing capacity in minute ways, changing this whole entire time. That's right. And I don't know at what point you were supposed to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff you can do.
You're so capable. Yeah,
and so just an encouragement to you. Probably actually there's a ton of stuff that they can do that you're just still doing for them.
Yes. And sometimes it takes outside eyes, the preschool teacher or the nanny friend or even dad who's maybe been working each day and comes back and is like, no, look, they can do this. Yeah. And you might want to punch everybody because you're like, oh, come on. Yeah. I've been here. It's not that easy for me to see it. Right. Don't punch everybody. It's so normal. It's that they have fresh eyes, and your kid really loves that you do all of these things for them.
Yeah. So, they're trying to move through this world with as much ease as possible.
Yeah, they're very smart.
How easy could this world be for me? Yeah. And you can make it really easy for them, but that actually doesn't even feel the best. It's not the best feeling in the world for somebody to be like endlessly smoothing your way. Like they want to be bumping up against the world growing, which is also, again, true of the grownups in my life who are grownups.
Yeah.
And like don't need me to be like, I made 12 different things for dinner. Does everybody want to come over and eat it? Like they don't, that's not what they need from me. Like they want me to be here, present behind my eyes, enjoying them, not necessarily bending over backward to make everybody's life. Nobody asked me to do that.
That's right.
Right? Kids don't super need it. The adults do not need it in this way.
Have you ever seen the show The Bear?
No, but
oh my gosh,
I saw a picture of that guy on Instagram today. I was like scrolling past it and was like, did not register that as a hot person. And now I do register that as a hot person.
I know. It's weird how that happened because I also agree with that. But you got to watch that show because in the newest season, there's this one episode where the mother, so it would be Hawkeye's mom, has everybody over for a holiday meal. And it's like, oh, this isn't a show you watch it with your kids, by the way. And it basically shows the intensity of like a person who has spread herself way too thin, who is relying on some substances, who is, and basically the explosive chaos that happens without boundaries.
Yeah.
And to me, I was watching it and I was like, I relate to this so much. Not that I mean, it's such an extreme of anything you and I have felt, but it is the sense of like, oh yeah, like you get to a point where you've taken on way too much and you've committed to too many people, and suddenly everything is this explosive madness, when really what you're wanting is to like reel it back in and like actually be in touch with what's going on inside of you. How can you invite that to the outside of you and make sure there's alignment and integrity between the outside thoughts and the inside thoughts, and and then the people around you are much more enjoyable, and you have a nicer time too.
I love that.
You should watch the show. It's so good.
Okay, people keep saying that.
It's
sometimes
so good.
I need the lag time. I need to know that people are still going to think it's good in a few months.
Oh
Because I can't be spending my time watching every single thing that everyone's like, today we left
No, I
Emily in
get it.
Paris. Like, I can't.
Oh, yeah,
If
I
it's
didn't
about
watch
to be
that.
gone, I can't.
No, I watched it accidentally because whenever Becca comes to town, she watches good things on the TV in our living room. I never watch things. I know she does.
So cool.
She's
right
so
over
cool.
there.
She's
She
here.
can
She
hear
with
us.
headphones
She's
on.
so cool.
But I never watch shows because of decision fatigue. This is so funny. Oh my gosh.
Let's hear it.
Okay, I would watch The Office because I know The Office is good and funny, and I know I could turn it on and I could do other things, but I can't find it for free. I mean, for free. I can't find it with any of the streaming things I already have, and I'm not trying to pay more money to watch them.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's on Peacock.
And I have to pay for that, right? Okay, so I don't have that.
Yeah.
So, but it used to be on something else that I did have. So I got on recently to like do that. And then I just knew I was staring at a TV of so many good ideas, but I was like, I can't decide. So I just turned it off and was like, all right, well, I'll just do what I have outside of that.
That's not bad advice. If you feel like you're going to light the house on fire or you need to drown in oatmeal, like you can just shut it all down.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a great like emergency stuff. We'll leave you with this. If you're in an emergency decision fatigue, hand your children to someone safe. Put on a television show if you need to. Like do something safe with these children. Go into a space and just de-sensory. Close the curtains. Put your phone down.
Yeah.
Like
reading a book really helped
for
me
a
recently.
second. Yeah. That's perfect.
There was a book laying out that Becca had brought. This is really funny. Yeah. This is like this video is sponsored by Becca. It was good because I think it was enough distraction to get me out of my head, but it wasn't that stimulating.
Yeah,
like, it's not a show. It's not a screen. It's nobody asking me anything. And it was good. Turn it all off.
I love it.
Cool.
Would love to hear from you guys about this. Would love to hear of the range of people that we put out today. Are you those guys? Are you
who
somebody
are you?
else who we didn't talk about?
Yeah.
What do you think I should do about the oatmeal? What do you guys do with your
What
kids?
kind of oatmeal do you think
have
would taste better to Connor?
This is, okay. I realized the thing about myself, and this is really the last thing I'm going to say. I realized the thing about myself, which is that I never ask for advice. I just do what I want, and then I turn around and say, do you guys think that was bad?
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting? I think it says several things about me, but
How funny.
I want to be like, I want to ask for advice more. So I'm
Sure.
asking you for advice about what I've laid out.
Oh,
Please in the
wow.
comments or shoot me a DM if you have some
Whoa.
advice for me about this decision situation.
Wow. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
Season 4 is crazy.
Season 4 is crazy. Okay. Love you guys so much. Join the community.
Yeah.
We'll see you
See you
next
soon.
week.
Bye.